Hi, Martin. Hi, Leah, Sophia. Okay, so most of you are here. It is 12:03. I would love to start. So everybody who else falls in, they can just type their names in so I'll know that you all are here. But yes, so we are going to talk about becoming a creative business. I actually was a little stumped when I thought of the topic because I'm like, okay, where do we start? it is quite a vast topic. I For those of you who are new to being a creative, in the sense of from an entrepreneurial point of view or starting a business, I'm sure you have already dabbled in enough to know that there is way more than meets the eye to becoming a creative entrepreneur and a creative business. And so, what I want to do with this presentation is walk you guys through some of the key must knows prior to starting your business, as well as at the beginning stages of starting a creative business. I think, like for me, for example, when I started my creative business 5 years ago, I didn't have much access to information. Like being a creative business it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing, if you know what I mean, so the information wasn't as readily accessible. The generic information about starting a business was, but I think we are a unique niche of people that needs to be specifically spoken to. And that's kind of what drives my passion to start creating content and putting tips and tidbits out for you guys to learn. So I'm going to get started, and I want to just do a very quick overview as to what we are going to discuss today so that you all are at least aware ahead of what's going to what's going to unfold in this presentation and this discussion. As I said, if you would like to ask something in between, you can, but I would more than likely reserve all responses to after, just to make sure we can cover all our tracks. But yeah, we're going to talk about who we are, who is a Millien Concepts, who am I? We're going to talk about the creative business. What does it mean to be a creative business? That's a multi-layered conversation, and we're going to tap and dive right into that. And then the startup process, the startup business process. What's involved in getting a business started in general, but also a creative business, and from a very holistic point of view. Important things to know. I would love to highlight some, in a very significant way, some of the giant heads ups that I can give you related to setting up, starting, and running a creative business. Things that I did not know that I wish that I knew. I'm going to try to give you guys that insight as well. So if you have any questions, especially in this area, please feel free to include it in the chat section. Working with us as in a Millien Concepts, what we do, what we have going on, and how you can probably benefit from it. We'll touch a little bit on that as well. And just how you guys can stay in touch, because we are in a space now where we are putting a lot of information out there for you all to learn and grow. And as accessible as we can make that for you as possible, we would love to do that. And then, of course, we'll round up with official Q&A. So let's get into it. About us, a Millien Concepts. I wouldn't dwell too long on this because people don't like to talk about themselves, including me. But we are, in essence, a multifaceted creative business. And I've defined it as a creative business because our scope is so wide. We dabble in so many different aspects of creativity, from the visual arts to the music arts. It really spans a lot. So I've just kind of summed it up as, hey, we're a creative business. We do content production. We specialize in conceptualizing, designing, and executing various forms of content. For those of you who are familiar with us, we have done events, we've done workshops, we've done a web series, we've done videos, we've done a barrage of different things that culminates in the creative sector. And most of the times when we do things like that, it's really for artistic purposes. Like we just feel to create, and it's something that we want to inspire people through our content, as well as to entertain, elevate, and educate. I'm a strong believer that if we empower people with the information to maneuver through and navigate their responsibilities as a creative entity / entrepreneur / business, being armed with that information can leverage us on so many different levels. That is so important to know the basics of that, right? So, hi, I am Patrice Millien. I am the owner of a Millien Concepts, and I summarize what I am as an unconventional creative. To be honest, I discovered the term the other day, and I was like, this is a perfect description of who I am, because I do not fall into the traditional realm of an artist or a videographer or photographer. I dabble in many different things, But my strongest area, I should say, is ideas and strategies and concepts and initiatives and coming up with different unique ways to stand out, to promote, to elevate people, to elevate our own brand, as well as on the end of producing it and executing it, bringing it to life. So all these things that are listed here, I am. I do brand strategy, I do content production, I am in overall scope of it, a creative entrepreneur. So I want to dabble into the concept of a creative. Like, this is a relatively new term. Like, creative is usually used in the adjective form, but we've been using it as a noun for a while now. And I think it's important, before we even get into understanding what a creative business is speaking to what is a creative. Like, what do we define as a creative? So I have here that a person with an extraordinary intellectual or artistic skill who is able to use their imagination and talent to either come up with original ideas or create things is a creative. So a singer is a creative. A strategist, a digital strategist, is a creative. Two different sides of the scope, but both aspects of it require a lot of thought, imagination, uniqueness, inspiration, and a lot of driven force behind that mentally to come up with something that could, in essence, impact and impart knowledge on others. So if we're looking at the other side of that now with regards to business, somebody would say it kind of contradicts itself, because a creative person is so artistically driven that their only focus is on creating, and they are passionate about what they do, and so most of their time and attention goes into that. But when we're looking at becoming a creative business, you also have to factor in and facilitate the fact that a business is an organized entity, and it involves the exchange of products and services for profit, right? For us to make money. So within that scope of where not just us as the creative sector fit in, there are other industries, other sectors that also have to fit into that scope of an organized entity. And you put the two together, you get a creative business. Creativity has become one of the world's most invaluable resources in our current dynamic in the world, when this intellectual capital is harnessed, packaged, and sold to solve problems, to help others increase their visibility, or to drive commercial value for others. It is considered a creative business. And I highlighted here packaged because, let's be real, guys, unless we have what we're doing in an organized form, nobody is going to take us seriously. People love what we do, people get inspired by what we do, but are we going to really have a sustainable living from being a creative entity? The best way to do that is to structure it in the form of a creative business. So I wanted to walk through with you guys, how are we going so far? Let me take a pause here, actually. Let me do a little chat bubble. I'm seeing some new names. I should cast their faces. Some new names in. How are we so far, guys? Give me a little chat comment. Let's see how we're going so far. If I'm talking too fast, please let me know as well. I have a tendency when I get very excited about a topic to just kind of rattle off. So yeah, I think there's a delay as well with the chat. So I'll keep checking back within the box, the little bubble, to see what's happening. But yeah, we want to move forward now into talking about the stages involved in becoming a creative business. Now, again, this presentation is just one huge sum up of all the heads ups related to becoming a business. Generally, I think the more aware you are of the issues and the challenges that you might encounter in becoming a official creative entity, the better equipped you are to deal with them as they arise. So I wanted to highlight in 5 different stages. This is more in a general sense. Everybody will have their own different journey. But in general, these are the stages that creatives tend to go through as they transition from an artistic, passionate entity to somebody who is business savvy. So we are looking at I call it the garden of creative entrepreneurship. I like to use metaphors to drive my points home. But we're looking at 5 different areas that relate to our growth as individuals, and our growth as brands, and our growth as businesses. Now, let's look at stage 1. Again, everybody's journey is going to be different, but we're just summing this up based on what the general feel of it tends to be. Stage 1, I've called the seeding the seed planting phase, right? At this stage, in my opinion, is when you have discovered that you have a talent. You've discovered, whether you discovered it or somebody told you about it. It's basically you are realizing that you have a gift that is unique to you, and it's not something that any and everybody else could do. And so that makes you very special. That makes what you have a gift, and you can use that gift to leverage and serve other people. I call it the seed planting phase because this is the point where the seed is planted in you to recognize and to acknowledge that you have something special. It is also the point where you plant that seed in other people's minds to let them know that you have something special upon you recognizing that for yourself. So at this stage as well, you tend to do a little bit of testing and trials around providing people with your talents. You might do some reaching out to people in your close network, your friends, your family, test out, delivering the service to them or delivering the talent to them in a way that helps you kind of figure out what is the direction that you should be going. It's also the point where you are discovering or figuring out how do you price your service? How do you put a fee to it? How do you let people know that you are charging for the service? Figuring out the different elements around that. Because your time and your effort is going into it, right? You are trying to figure out if this is something that I am good at, one, and two, that I can make a sustainable living out of, then how can I put some kind of framework to that? A lot of this is just you kind of, dibbling and dabbling and figuring out or identifying what system you would best operate in and what is your kind of business style. Now, the challenge with this phase, there are a few. I just pinpointed some of the key ones. But usually when you acknowledge that you have a special skill, we all tend to kind of, play around with how skillful am I? How talented am I? Is my talent really a talent, or is it just something that I'm being mama guide about, So it's you most of the time trying to figure out, okay, if this is something that I'm really unique at and I'm really good at, I'm sure there's a way that I could develop it, sharpen it, perfect it even, and make money from it, right? So this is a form of like talent assessment. Like you internalize, okay, I've identified this as a skill set. How can I make the best of this? And then, of course, in doing a lot of testing and trying, you are going to make a lot of errors, okay? You're going to do a lot of things over and over and over. You're going to have to adjust, revise, explore, improve. It's just an ongoing process of figuring out who you are, what you're doing, the best way to deliver and to do that. And then, of course, there's the challenge of deciding what to charge. Can I get an amen? Can I hear from everybody here on the chat bubble? How many of you struggle with deciding what to charge or with understanding where your pricing scheme should lie in the scale of becoming a creative business? I can tell you firsthand that has happened. It still happens to me. I still struggle with, okay, if I'm doing this, what is the best way to charge for this? A lot of these things, you would think as you get older in business that it would, settle. And it tends to at a point. But you have the first few years of trying to figure out, what am I doing? What's really happening here, right? So you move on as time goes on. You're going to realize that there's some development and some growth that would need to take place, right? I call it the germination phase. In stage 2, because the germination stage is where you are letting people know that you're existing, that you are here, and you are refining and developing what you're doing in such a way that it actually starts to increase interest around you. People are hearing about what you're doing. The ones who you have helped out or provided the service to in terms of your friends or your families, they are making referrals. They are telling other people how proud they are of you for starting this thing. And they are the ones that are telling people to come check you out, to go support you, etc. And this kind of helps you build that confidence, right? That helps you realize, okay, if other people are supporting me in this, then something really happening here, something working here, right? So it helps you build the confidence even to decide, I'm going to advertise, right? I'm going to maybe put a little social media post up, maybe put a WhatsApp picture up, let people know you're selling soup today, So it gives you that little confidence boost that you would need to get you going. And it's if you think about the plant stage, it's that stage of the plant where it's germinating, it's now figuring out what direction to go in, how to blossom. And then, of course, the more people that are exposed to you and the more high quality service or product you deliver, is the higher in demand you will get, is the more supply requests you will get. People are going to start reaching out, and it's going to increase the production volume. It's going to increase the amount of service that you're going to have to render out. And of course, the type of request is going to start changing as well. If you started singing one song, for example, to a friend or family in a birthday line, all of a sudden, the person who was there and your uncle have a friend, they tell you could really sing to, and before you know it, they're asking you to sing in a whole concert series. You know, so certain things will start changing. The scope of it is going to change, and you have to prepare yourself and equip yourself for those natures of requests changing, as well as the size and the dynamic of the request. Some of the challenges that exist in this phase, for those of us who have experienced it, is that we are doing most of what we're doing with very limited resources, right? Like, we are all newbies. We now figure out that we're good at something, and we're trying to, see how we could play around with it. And then you're telling one or two people about it, but really and truly, most of what you're doing is with little or no help at all, right? You're trying to see how best you can make this thing work. And because of that, because it's just you're running into a situation where you have no real system or structure. Of course, you'll be trying to do that as you go along. The more people request your services or make an order from you, is the more experience you're getting in the field, is the more you can start thinking about how you could frame this a little better so that your deliverables are of as best or high quality as it can be. And unfortunately, not all the time, but it's going to happen. You're going to have some shortfalls in your delivery because it's just you. It's you trying to do all of these different things at the same time. And that can get a little overwhelming. That can affect your quality of delivery. And that's something that you have to be okay with and be prepared to deal with. The most important thing is you understanding that this is not a perfect journey. This is not a perfect ride. You're going to make mistakes. And all of it is based on you being able to learn and grow. And of course, because this becomes something that is so high demand, the idea, I'm assuming for most of you, is to always want to deliver your best, right? And in order to do that, you have to invest time, energy, dedication. It's a round the clock type of activity that doesn't end. And the more projects that come in, the more requests that come in, is the more you're going to have to just put that time and energy and resource into making sure that it is as best as it can be. So the problem is, between these two stages, is a lot of creatives tend to get trapped and stuck and cycle between those first two stages. I have a talent, I could do something different to people, somebody willing to pay me for it, why not? Let me make a little side hustle and get some money going. I might make a little mistake here and there, but say what? Again, more requests, people coming in, and I'm just make a little money on the side. And that's all. And we don't say that's all well and good. It's not. It's actually a very bad habit that we all need to break. But it's such a conditioned way of thinking, because there are cases where some of us might have 8 to 4 jobs in addition to having a creative skill, and you can make some extra money on the side from that. But the reality is, again, as you grow and as people show more interest in you, you are going to require some kind of framework in place and some structure. Imagine if you get so popular, let's just say as an artist or a producer, whatever. You get so popular that people, you all over billboards and plastered in all sorts of different advertising promotional ways. And you get a call from Ministry of Legal Affairs, Board of Inland Revenue Division, and they're asking, hey, we saw your flyer for this event, for this promotion, but we looked on our system and we're not seeing any taxes from you. Or we're seeing taxes of a certain amount, but we know that you're performing quite a few places this year, so something in looking to right there, and you don't want to end up in a case, and that tends to happen with most of us, where we are reacting when we're being proactive. Again, I'm talking from experience, my personal experience, as well as the experiences of other creatives who have gone through the mill of thinking it's just a by the way, let me just do this on the side, and as it goes, it flows, whatever. And something happened. There are cases where people, let's say, for example, you're singing and you're performing one-off little, personal events, etc., and then a corporate entity calls you to perform. And they ask you to send an invoice. You don't know how to send an invoice. As far as you're concerned, you just use click and check cash on the day. They're not going to deal with you. You're going to lose so many opportunities to make money because as far as they're concerned, they have their records, they have their database that they need to keep up to date, that they need to account for. And if you don't have your ducks in a row, it's unlikely, very unlikely that they're going to hire you based on your talents alone, right? There have been many cases I've heard of people who, a food business, for example, they got a catering order, or somebody was interested in hiring them for catering services, and they asked them about their payment method, and they didn't have a business bank account, and the entity was like, no, okay, sorry, we can't deal with you because we need to account on our end for all payments, and our payments need to be shown if it's being paid at this value to a legit entity. If you are not registered in any type of way, we're not gonna do business with you. So you don't want to lose out on business opportunities because you haven't thought as far ahead as to structure your stuff properly. And then we go to stage 3. Now, stage 3, funny enough, is where most of us tend to get very confused in the process of becoming a creative business. I can speak to it for sure. I remember I started fresh out of school, UE, and I was like, oh, I'm going to just help my brother do some project management for his music production projects because he was just focusing on the creating process. And I was like, yeah, I have this idea. It's a real cool idea. I could help other creatives. I could be the administrative entity behind them. And I'm going to register it as a business, right? Because I want to feel legitimate. I want to feel official. I want to be like a formal thing. And I went straight ahead. I dived into it. I went and did a little research how to register a business online. Of course, there was some chaotic ways of accessing the information, but I eventually did, and I went and registered the business. Now, did I have a clue as to why I needed to register a business? None whatsoever. I just assumed that, Jed, if you want to do something legit, you need to go and register your business. But I had no real foundation or real knowledge about the reason why people register their business and how having a business could actually work in my favor. And I'm still learning this to date, guys. This is not, just figure it out in one shot. And we'll get to that. You obviously have to do your research and talk to as many people as possible, absorb as much information as you can, because this does not end. But figuring out the starting point for me was the trickiest of places because the information is it's there, right? It's there to have. But if you don't have somebody guiding you through that process, if you don't connect with somebody who has already done it, this whole thing could just seem like a crazy show, like a circus. You're just going around in a merry-go-round circle, and there's no way that you could figure out how to do this on your own without making mistakes or without getting to a certain point, but then realizing after the fact that, shucks, you missed some steps along the way. But at least at this stage, you've recognized that I'm in a headspace where I want to make this, I want to formalize this, and I want to do this in a proper way. And so, in being in that headspace, you tend to take on a lot of the responsibilities attached with doing that, whether it's the actual business registration process or all the post-registration requirements and obligations. In some form, you have decided to commit to that process of setting up and structuring a business. So you're growing, right? So you're making progress somewhere along the way. It's happening, just slowly, but it's happening. But what you are tending to deal with at the same time, simultaneous all of this, is you only know what you know. You could only go as far as your knowledge takes you, and unless, as I said, that you are willing to reach out to other people and just open yourself to guidance and advice, you can get stuck in that space or that tailspin of just trying to figure it out. Some people are so overwhelmed by the idea of what it might involve that they don't even make the step to actually register their business because it seems so crazy. It's too much information coming at you at once, and I understand that everybody could deal with that. But I encourage you guys, try to take it one step at a time, one line at a time. Just, with ease yourself into the process. There are resources that are available. You can Google all these things. There are websites that actually package the information in a very attractive way to help you figure out step by step what needs to be done. So, don't try not to get overwhelmed into becoming a stunted, like you just can't move forward, right? The administrative workload is a lot, I will admit, especially if you're starting this off by yourself. Most startup entities tend to be, self-driven. So you are going to need to take your time and be aware of as much of the information as possible, but also take your time in executing the steps involved with it. The burnout is very real. If you're doing all this by yourself, I do advise that you reach out to talk to other people, talk to mentors, ask older persons in business to maybe mentor you through the process. Do your research, look at videos, look at content. Try to get other peers, for example, who might be thinking about doing the same thing. Form a little support group around it and try to help each other out based on your individual strengths to make progress in these areas. Another, we have a lot of challenges related to growth, but it's worth it, trust me. Over time, you will have somewhat of a steady customer base. Okay, I want to warn all of you about this because it will happen. As a creative, you're going to build your clientele. People are going to want to work with you, and you're going to have access to many people who are very interested in what you do and willing to pay you for that. But understand that based on what you are doing and how your business is structured or set up, you may not always have a consistent flow of clients, thereby a consistent flow of income. So you have to prepare yourself for all that is going to come as a result of that, including on the financial end as well. We had a perfect example where COVID happened this year. And for those of us who weren't managing our monies properly, who was involved or has a type of creative business that was severely affected by that, we had to readjust and make some revisions around how we could stand out as an entity again. I, for one, was very affected by COVID. For example, we were doing events predominantly leading up to 2019, coming down into 2019 as well. We were doing a lot of events. I had ideas to do workshops, to do these little focus group sessions, things that would have involved public gatherings. And it was all shut down when COVID happened. So, but what it did encourage me to do is to see other opportunities and other ways that I can evolve and, carry the business forward in a way that would be a little more sustainable, that would make a little more sense for us. And thankfully, we do have some things happening now as a result of that downtime to give to you guys for next year as well. So there was this peaks. We had the peaks and we had the valleys in between that. But don't get discouraged. Just remember that you are blessed with the idea of being a creative because your drive and your fuel comes from your mind and your imagination, and you have all the capacity in the world to evolve and to do as best as you can to survive off of that. And speaking on that note, again, just a heads up, you are going to experience some uninspired days. You are going to feel like with the mundane routine task of providing the same thing over and over to somebody, especially if you're in a dedicated creative field. So if it's a music production field, or if it's video production, or if it's fashion, or anything that is specifically relatively one tracked in the sense of it's one subject based, you can get feel like it's a little too much of the same thing over and over, and you'll have bouts just feeling like you don't want to do it. You're just like, today I just don't feel to do it. It's my passion, yes, but I need something different within the scope of this, but I need something to excite me to do it over and over again in a different way. So be prepared for that time as well when that happens. Don't let's feel like that's it, depression mode on, and that's it. We're not going to go anywhere. Those days I've actually realized are very much needed as well, so that when you do have those bouts of inspiration and that hit of that thought or idea, it actually hits you more powerfully because you had that downtime experience and you know what it is to feel like that. So that drives your desire to passion forward with, this new idea and this new thing. Stage 4 is the blossom phase. The blossom phase is when you basically come to some form of acceptance. Like, okay, I am in business. I realize that this is going to go up and it's going to go down. It's a work in progress, but we're going to make it. It's no longer a side hustle. And you realize that because you are an entity that is responsible for your living, for making a living, that you are charged now with making sure that you are aware of what is required of you. You go searching for information and for inspiration. You'll always be asking questions now because you just want to know. You want to prepare yourself to expand your knowledge and to make sure that you're equipped to deal with whatever comes your way moving forward. Not to mention, the more you become structured, the more popular you are, the more of a relationship you build with your clients, it's the more network that you will build out of that. It's the more people that you can reach out to for advice, for guidance, for direction, peers, experienced persons. So it allows for a lot of collaborative relationship building as well as mentorship. And I think the more, even if you feel like a little lost, the more you have identified where you are at and you've discovered what you want to do and where you're going, I think doors start opening up for you as a result of that. So the encouragement here is, of course, to try to stay focused, try to stay inspired, because you will always get that sense of reignition to keep going. Even if you have those uninspired days, something will hit as a result of being uninspired, and it's going to motivate you and encourage you to explore and to be exposed to other things moving forward. So that takes us to the final phase. How are we doing, by the way? Let me check the chat and see before I finish off with the final stage here, because this is where it actually gets really fulfilling. Mentorship is so important. It definitely is. Hi, Mahalia. Yeah, the final stage, the blossom stage. This is where you... Actually, no, sorry, this isn't the final stage. We're actually speaking about the challenges related to the blossom stages. So it's kind of like what I've said in between what I mentioned with what happens. It's a roller coaster ride. You are going to experience ups and downs. You're going to go back and forth trying to get all the details. But I think ultimately when you find out what you need to find out, it settles you in a way that is very comforting, because it builds your confidence as well, because with the information and the knowledge, you can, pursue all that you need to without feeling, shaky or flaky about it. Again, the information is not as easily accessible as we would like. When I say easily accessible, it's there, but it's not packaged in a very user-friendly way for us to know what we need to do moving forward. And so platforms like this is really important for you to be aligned with, so that you can get the information that you need as much of ahead of to prepare you for all that needs to happen. And as a result, it will actually save you the headache of being reactive more so than proactive, because that tends to happen as well. Because you're not knowledgeable of what's required of you, most of the times you find things out on the fly, right? Start to realize, oh shucks, I was supposed to do this. Oh shucks, I needed to do that. And then of course, especially as it relates to the business operational side of things, there are expenses associated with not doing things properly and doing things the right way. So there's that challenge as well that happens as you grow and as you blossom. But it carries us into stage 5, which is the maturation stage. And at this stage, you have the confidence to deal with business moving forward. You have a very solid sense of dread. I have this, right? I have this. Yeah, I know we're going to have some problems. Yeah, I know you'll probably run into some hurdles in between. But I have this. I'm going through the cycle of falling and getting back up, but I know I'm going to get back up. You're gaining the experience to be comfortable with dealing with everything moving forward. Even when it comes to re-strategizing and reconditioning what you need to do, that's a huge part of business as well. At some point, if you are running your business for more than 3 years now, especially, I would say, I'm sure any of you who have, would understand the need to always recondition and re-strategize. The world is evolving, people are changing, you are changing, and you're going to have to keep up with that and figure out a way to structure all that you have going on with more focused action, so that you could stay up to date and you could stay relevant. And the final aspect of that is, because you're so comfortable in who you are and you understand that this is going to be a roller coaster ride, and you are prepared to re-strategize, restructure, recondition, and repeat, you are now prepared and very much versed in business to have all the tools, tricks, resources, and the people to soar and to have a very prominent, successful business, and to embark on that journey of maintaining that. And that's where we all aim to get. That's where we all would like to reach. It is not, that's not like a final destination point. It will have a very much repeated cycle of going through most of what is happening in this maturation phase here. But again, what's most important is that we understand that we would be equipped to deal with that, and we would feel confident to move forward and do that. The challenge as a result is you never stop learning. Things will always keep coming at you. The more money you make is the more problems you're going to face because you're going to be making bigger decisions. You're going to be doing bigger things. And one of the biggest challenges related to that is in regards to finance, right? Like if you are not, you can be very much talented. You can have the best direction in the world. You could package yourself the best way possible. But when it comes to the money aspect of things, if you don't have some degree of financial literacy to understand how to manage the money that you're making, you're going to run into some problems, and your business is probably going to more than likely crash one way or the other. Because the decisions that you're going to be making is going to be, unfortunately, driven by that lack of knowledge. So I also encourage you guys, a huge part of running a business is the financial aspects of it. And so as much exposure you can give yourself to people and information about preserving that and making the best decisions around that, that would definitely help you. And this is a life challenge, but it happens in business all the same. It's the dealing with people and personalities, especially as creatives. We creatives, and I say we because I consider myself one, eccentric people. We have our egos, we have our passions and our drives and our ticks, all the same. And in having a tick, you're going to encounter lots of very special circumstances where you need to be emotionally intelligent to know how to handle yourself and how to handle people. And again, this kind of goes back to the whole aspect of clients and people relations, being able to relate to people and to problem solve and to resolve your conflicts, etc., so that you build those solid relationships and people look to you as a stable source of relationship and friendship, as well as guidance. So try as best as you can as well to be mindful that in business you're going to be dealing with plenty special characteristics of individuals. Right. So actually I'm going to take a little breather here for now. Let me check the chat and see if anybody has anything that they would like to know in between. I actually want to know from you guys. I wanted to do a poll here, but let me see if I can activate it. I wanted to know, based on all those stages that I identified, which stage would you say you are currently at in business? I'm writing this down in the poll. I'm going to put the different options here. So stage 1, if you could remember it, stage 2, stage 3, 4, and 5, right? I would really love to hear from you all where you all are at with this based on that information. And, you know, in the Q&A aspect after, I would love to see or hear from you all as to what you think you would like to do to move forward into the next stage. So the poll is currently up. I think you can access that on the right side, I believe, in the poll section. So yeah, I would love to see at the end of this where you guys are at in business, or where you think you're at, and see how best I can tailor information moving forward that we give to our followers and our audience to suit your needs. So yes, the poll is up there, guys. You can fill it out as soon as you feel like as soon as you're moved to. But let's move on into some of these specifics regarding what you should know in business. Right? Am I talking for over 40 minutes already? Seriously? Wow. Well, we nearly finished, guys, either way. Are y'all enjoying the presentation? Let me know as well. I wish I could have like these little face bubbles to see how you guys are reacting to all of this. But let me know, I guess, in chat form. But yes, what you should know, again, one big giant heads up. These are some of the key things I felt like I would want to highlight to you all to be mindful of regarding your creative business or your startup. If you have not yet registered your business, it's good to know the types of business structures that exist in Trinidad and Tobago. Some of the popular ones that I highlighted here includes the sole trader business structure, partnerships, business structure, limited liability, and NGOs. I know, for example, Two Cents Movement is, if I remember correctly, they are an NGO. But most other creative people, especially if you're now starting up, they tend to go with the sole trader option just because it's a little easier. There's less complications to it. There's less fees as well attached to the registration aspect of it, and there's lesser, not necessarily lesser taxes, but the tax structure is more simple. Where's my English language? It's simpler with the sole trader setup. So most people tend to start there, and yes, you can transition from a sole trader entity to a limited liability entity, but you cannot move from a limited liability to a sole trader entity. So, for example, I was a sole trader entity as a Millien Concepts in the beginning when I first signed up, and I was able to upgrade to a limited liability just with some paperwork, of course, but to limited liability. The difference between the two being main difference. Sole trader, you are your business. You are the person that has the business. And that is responsible for all business affairs. With a limited liability setup, you are separated from the business, meaning that the entity is its own structure. It's its own functioning organization. And if anything ever happens financially, legally, the entity is separated from you as a result of that. Now, in terms of taxes, which I know a lot of people tend to want to know about, taxes are a very unique set of it's a very unique subject area to address with creatives because, again, I know most of us tend to just operate on the fly, but again, speaking from my own personal experience, I've had the run-in, no, I won't say run-in, don't use that word, but I've had to encounter with Board of Inland Revenue some experiences where I needed to sort out some tax payments, and I learned a lot that I was not doing along the way and that I needed to do. And as a result of that, I was very much driven to share that information with other people because I felt like if I am a researcher and I like to go looking for information and I don't know this, I can't even imagine the other people who, very need the information, but they don't have the ability or the capacity to go dig in as much as I would. So with taxes, it's important that you guys know these basic terms. The Board of Inland Revenue is the section related to Ministry of Legal Affairs Ministry of Finance, I believe, that addresses all the tax, that administers all the tax laws. So they are the entity responsible for the administration and the collection of taxes and all the paperwork associated with that. Your Board of Inland Revenue number, which is your BIR number, is the number unique to you as an individual that you need to have, what all of us should have, respective to paying our taxes, so that if anything ever happens and we need to account for our income, the BIR number comes into play there. Your health charge, everybody's supposed to contribute this fee on a monthly, working people, meaning 8 to 4 people, they contribute on a monthly basis. With business owners, creative businesses in this case, you are required to make sure that this is paid on a quarterly basis. Quarterly means every 3 months, right? Similarly, income and corporation tax or corporation tax. Income tax would be for individual people. In the case of the business structure, it would be sole traders, as well as individuals. And corporation tax would be for the limited liability entities, seeing that they are separate entities. And similarly, business and green fund levy, those are fees or taxes that are also imposed on business owners depending on the amount of money that you make. And your tax returns are documents that you are supposed to submit on a yearly basis. Again, I learned all this within recent years. And one of the biggest takeaways from this is if you don't file your tax returns, meaning if you don't submit those documents to the Board of Inland Revenue, you are going to be subject to penalties and interest. And that is not nice. Those fees are not nice. So I'm giving you all the heads up so that you could avoid this run-in if you haven't started your creative business yet. And if you have, you really should go check that out to see where you are at with that and your status with that, to avoid having to pay exorbitant amounts of penalties and interests having not submitted it. In terms of the business operations itself, of course, I would love that everybody leaves here understanding that when you start a business, there are different aspects and departments of the business that you need to make sure is functioning. And that is your strategic business planning aspect. So most times people tend to do this at the beginning, yes, but also in between. So in between, meaning every 2-3 years, people tend to get like a strategist to come in, a strategic planner to work with them to figure out where they're at in business, where they want to go, what they're trying to do, and then they would help them plan around that to keep them relevant and to keep them functioning and making money. Admin, this is a threading aspect of the business where it involves things like your record keeping, your communications, your paperwork, all these different things that you do on a day-to-day basis to maintain the upkeep of your business. That's something that you should also be aware of, whether you decide that you want to do that for yourself or you want to get somebody to work with you or work alongside you to do that. Of course, and we mentioned this earlier, the financial aspect is hugely important as well. Because you need to, or you should have somebody dealing with your bookkeeping, your accounts, your pricing. There's so many different areas of finance that you really should be mindful of and tap into once you decide to start a business. And then, of course, there's the branding and marketing, which as creators, for most of us, is the more exciting and the more appealing of the bunch. But yeah, this is important to highlight because most of us, as unfortunate as it is, tend to start our whole idea of doing a business with this part first. We start with branding and marketing, and we're going down the road saying, yeah, man, we have a business. And then when it's time to really formalize what you're doing and you go to Ministry of Legal Affairs to try to register your business and you realize, oh my gosh, my business name is not available. Somebody already has that business name. But I already put all this material out there promoting what I have, my name and all of that. And it's a waste. It's a complete waste. Because you didn't go doing your name search and do the legal requirements attached to really registering your business officially. So yeah, y'all, if you know anybody doing this, stop them. Tell them go and register their business and make sure that they secure their names. And then legal, of course, because you're gonna but you're gonna run into some areas where you need to deal with things like contracts, just agreements in general, and protecting your creations, protecting your property, protecting all that you have personally going on as well, on the creative side as well as on the business side. So that is a huge part as well that you should be mindful of and try to get somebody to help you out with. As creators, I wanted to highlight these 3 areas below here because I feel like with other industries, it's important, yes, but mostly for you guys and for us, copyright and intellectual property is one of the key areas that you really should delve into to get information and insight on, because you really want to figure out what is the best way that you can protect what you have and what you've created and all your work. On the case of like branding, your logo, etc., those things, it's important if you want to really take your business and your brand to the next level that you trademark those things. In the case of like singers, artists, musicians, writers, producers, etc., and your stuff is related to copyrights, all the entities that can protect you from that, you want to make sure that you are connected to and aligned with. And of course, your mental health is important. I've mentioned before, you're going to have those days where you just feel meh, you just feel uninspired. And you need to pay attention to those days and you need to give yourself the time and the opportunity to feel what you're feeling. As a creative, most of what you do is driven by your feelings. And if you ignore that enough, you're going to send yourself into a zone that is not very helpful to you or to anybody else. So pay attention to what your mind and your body is doing. Exercise regularly. Talk to people if you're feeling a little inspired. Go out, go do something different, experience nature outside. I know we tend to be cooped up, especially if we're doing things like graphic designs, etc. But yeah, just experience life in its fullest form, and especially in those days where you're just not feeling motivated to do anything at all. And be aware of imposter syndrome. This is something that I recently discovered that I had in some form as well, where I felt like I know what I'm doing, but I feel like, I don't know if people would feel like I know what I'm doing. And you're going into this whole zone of, should I be doing this? Am I supposed to be doing this? Am I a fraud? What am I doing? And that is not productive thinking. That is not helpful to you in any way, shape, or fashion. It actually stunts your growth. It stunts you from doing things that you are meant to be doing, that you were destined and designed to do in your creative sphere. And so I want to encourage you guys that this is a thing. This does happen when you start questioning yourself. There's something like that defines it and that explains it. And once you are aware of that, I think it helps you be able to snap out of it a little quicker. Like, no, I know what I do. I could do this. People tell me I'm great at this. I know I'm great at this. So like, whatever you name it, Monty or whoever, get away, imposter syndrome, move off. I could do this, right? So I want to bring all this back home to say, as a Millien concepts, I literally defined it as a creative business because based on everything that we discussed earlier on, we fit the scope of that, right? We create stuff in the form of content, ideas, strategies for artistic, promotional, educational basis. We intellectually create things, thoughts. We have thoughts and we turn them into things. But on the business side, we do that in exchange for some type of payment or some type of profit, right? Because we have to live off of this. So it's provided in the form of services, in the form of solutions, in the form of support, but in exchange for some sort of compensation. Because I have to live, because you have to live, because we all have to live. So be mindful of all these things, guys. And when you are, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about talking about this topic is because I feel like creative entrepreneurs need as much ammunition as they can to be comfortable with accepting that they are creative, yes, but they are also a business, and they can be a business and they can function optimally at that. Once you are aware of all the insights and information related to navigating that process. And a pro tip for you all. So if you have already registered your creative business, I'm hoping that you by now have a BIR number, that you have an official business logo. You should have a stamp because all your administrative documentation is going to require some sort of approval or business approval, which will come in the form of that business stamp tangibly. An invoice and code template, because I am assuming if people are asking you to do things for them that you are professional and you have these things that you can send out to them for your own record keeping as well as for theirs. You have a business email address, and of course on the marketing side you have some sort of online presence. I think most people tend to have a social media profile, but any form of things like a website, etc., could help. So yeah, guys, if you are interested in getting any more insights and details about operating or running your creative business, we do put a lot of tidbits up on our social media page. You can follow us at A Millien Concepts. And I'm actually I think it's first time I'm gonna announce this, but we're launching our website by January next year. I'm hoping by New Year's. And that website is going to be set up for you all to benefit so much from all the information and tools that can help you grow and just be awesome in business. So if there are any questions, I am going to address that now before we wrap up. I see it's almost 1 o'clock. I can't believe I spoke so loud. Any questions? Let me see. Hi, everyone. Mahalia came away. Thank you guys so much for being here for so long and taking in all this information. Mark says he feels inspired now. I feel inspired talking to you all. I felt inspired creating this presentation for you all, to be very honest, because I was able to finally sit with all that I knew and package it into something that made sense, which works pretty well for me because I'm in the process of doing that with the website as well, so that you guys could have some free business resources to help you maneuver through. We're going to do things like checklists and worksheets and workbooks and guides that you can access through the website. So again, this is very helpful in helping me to discipline myself to pull the content together. I know there's a slight delay, so I'm hoping I didn't miss any questions that anybody had. But yeah, if you all do, if for whatever reason I don't get your question here, again, our contact information is up for you all to reach out to us via. I'm very responsive on DMs in Instagram, sometimes WhatsApp. But yeah, you are going to definitely be able to reach out to us and ask us anything you want to after this. Kiwi, I hope I didn't butcher your name, Kiwi. My question is with the inland revenue, if I haven't paid them any taxes. Yes. Where's the question? What happens if you don't pay taxes? You so one of two things can happen. You can, now that you know, go pay your taxes. You just have some penalties and interests to pay as a result. So you could probably find an accountant to help you go through all that you have, your receipts, your invoices, to see how much money you made over the last 2 years and how much your expenses you would have accrued as well. And then have the accountant work out what you should have paid or would pay in taxes. Let me just say here as well, one time, guys, that there is a cap on what you can make with that is tax free in terms of the amount of profit income that you can earn. But right now it's at $72,000 for the year. So if you make less than $72,000 for the year as a creative, you don't have to pay any taxes. You still do have to file your tax returns, and you still will have to pay penalties and interest if you did not. But you don't, you're not charged a tax fee on that. But if you cross the $72,000 threshold, meaning after you take out your income and expenses and your profit amount remains, if your profit crosses $72,000, you are going to have to pay taxes at 25%. Next year, when the government read the budget, they said that that amount is going to go up to $84,000, which is $7,000 a month. So you have a bigger window to say you have more money in your pocket that you don't need to pay taxes on. But again, once you cross that threshold, it's at this point, as far as I'm aware, it's 25% of the income of the profit amount that you make. Do I pay if I cross after? Right. I hope I answered the question, Nikki. If I didn't, again, you can message me personally and I can walk you through it. Martin asked, is there accounting software that you use to help with taxes? There are bookkeeping softwares. QuickBooks, I think, is one of them. We've had one as well, but I think there was a recent notification where they said that they're going to stop serving markets outside of the US and Canada. But QuickBooks is definitely one that I've heard of, is very popular to help with your record keeping, at least of your income and expenses. And once you have that information saved there, an accountant can just come in and see it as it is and then work out whatever they need to determine the tax amount. Also, to file your taxes now, to do your tax return, there's an online space and platform that they are trying to encourage people to, they are pushing people to do that, because they're not giving you the actual forms anymore to fill out for your tax returns. They used to give it at BIR, at Board of Inland Revenue. But now they are encouraging you to sign up using their e-tax services. That's where you have to have a TT Connect ID as well as a TT BizLink ID. Again, I touch on all these things on our YouTube channel as well as our Instagram channel. But yeah, you can. It's something that you have to do online now to file the tax returns. Question: is there a need to have audited accounts? The audited accounts is a special case. So audited accounts, I think, matters. This is a little complicated, but just to sum it up, I remember when I did my taxes recently, my accountant was telling me that the audited accounts is really for auditing purposes. So like if Board of Inland Revenue wants to audit your business, meaning they want to come and scour through to see if you are paying what you're supposed to be paying in taxes, those audited accounts would matter there, as well as it's important for the banks, especially. I think banks, if you want to get loans and stuff with the bank for your business, they require that you have audited accounts to just confirm that the information there is verified by a certified accountant type of thing. Did I miss any other question? Do you get the TT Connect for companies outside of Inland Revenue? TT Connect is its own entity. So you can go to ttconnect.gov.tt, ttconnect.gov.tt. So while they work, they are the entity that was set up to basically incorporate all the government services. They function as a standalone. So you can get your TT Connect ID straight from TT Connect. They have locations all over Trinidad. If you Google TT Connect locations, you can find one near you. And you can go into them and ask questions, or you could just, or their website has most of the information that you would need to do it. Also, Keepway, there's I did a YouTube video on how to get a TT Connect ID as well, so you could check that out there, and why you would need to get a TT Connect ID. So the government is really pushing for us to become more digital, and a huge part of that is that every individual has their own TT Connect ID to be able to facilitate all those things that we would typically go into the buildings, into the companies, buildings to deal with. I guess it helps kind of lessen their foot traffic, but also makes it a little more efficient of a process. The poll, somebody said the poll isn't working. Oh, I didn't publish it. The Patrice. Sorry guys, it's my first time on this platform, so yeah, I'll leave a couple minutes there just for you all to answer the poll. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this presentation. I enjoyed doing it for you all, putting it together, and I hope that you learned a lot out of this. I guess to kind of sum up and to wrap things up, I really want to encourage you all as creative entities to mind your business. Literally, go mind your business. Like, ask as much questions as you can. Be bold about wanting to be better in business. Don't feel shy or feel like you'll ask a dumb question to anybody. Like, no question is dumb when it comes to you trying to figure out how to manage your affairs, how to manage your finances, how to manage your marketing and your branding, etc. We are going to be offering, we as in the Millien Concepts will be offering support sessions soon as an official service where we can do these one-on-ones. If you have basically any question related to building your business or your brand, you can talk to us directly about it, and we will have sessions dedicated towards helping you, giving you the answers to that. If you have a branding strategy or something that you're trying to figure out for the longest while, those sessions would also kind of help tailor to and address that as well. So again, I'll be making those announcements on our Instagram page. But if you want to check that out, you can check there. And I think this webinar is going to be on replay on MusicTT's YouTube channel. If you haven't yet subscribed to that, please go subscribe and share it with your friends as well. I know there were a few other really solid topics that were discussed earlier on.